Good morning, welcome to Headline Focus, here live on Core Politics with me, Rob Double. It is Friday the 16th of November 2018. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of politics today, and leading pretty much all of the papers in terms of what's on the splash on the front pages is Theresa May and what she's been able to do in terms of the backlash to her Brexit deal yesterday, and still being in number 10, still relatively stable at the moment in terms of the Brexit plan as well. She's insisted her Brexit agreement truly is the best deal for Britain. This, of course, follows the resignations of 2 cabinet ministers and many more junior ministers, in particular Dominic Raab, the Brexit Secretary, and Esther McVey, the Work and Pensions Secretary. In a press conference yesterday, one thing that was really noticeable if you were watching it as well is just how adamant and defiant she was that the Brexit position she had put forward was the correct one, and she was not going to be backing down, despite the pressure and the resignations that have occurred as a result of her negotiating outcome being made public. She compared herself to, and this is what's being picked up in a lot of the papers on the front pages, her cricket idol, Sir Geoffrey Boycott, saying she had kept at the crease and carried on, going on to say she vows to see this through. Now, this morning as well, she was on LBC doing a phone-in. She's particularly in terms of the DUP support. DUP yesterday, Nigel Dobbs in the Commons made it very clear he was not happy with the withdrawal draft agreement, and indeed sort of said that Theresa May hadn't really been listening or hadn't listened to the DUP and the DUP concerns as is indicated in this withdrawal agreement. Theresa May said that she's still working with Arlene Foster's party, the DUP. Now, what's interesting is that she stayed completely strong. Almost, to be honest, as Theresa May has been typified, is that once she made her mind up on a decision, she very rarely changes her mind and is very rarely swayed by influence or pressure. This very much being seen, that press conference gave the impression calm, very considered, very firm, that she's not going anywhere. She's not certainly resigning. She's not certainly giving way, despite the pressure within her own party. And her Brexit position is the one that she's going to be pushing forwards. That doesn't mean, however, she is not very politically vulnerable. In terms of cabinet reports in the BBC today, say that there's a wider group of cabinet ministers who are trying to force number 10 to make changes to the deal. Now, we don't know what those changes are, but those changes could be on anything. Perhaps something to do with the customs union arrangement, perhaps something to do with the backstop, which, of course, the backstop, if you remember from our headline focus yesterday, was the real issue for many MPs in terms of not being able to support the deal. But also, if you looked at what was being said yesterday, and particularly what was being said when the Prime Minister was in the House of Commons, the mood in the chamber was not supportive of the draft withdrawal agreement. Indeed, if you were to take a sort of very crude analysis of it, you'd say that there are not many MPs in there who are going to be willing to vote for the withdrawal agreement. Certainly not the majority that Theresa May would need to get this through Parliament to make sure that it is enacted. But, of course, politics can change. Politics is ever changing at the moment, so we'll wait and see. Certainly, for the time being, though, Theresa May is going nowhere. Neither is her Brexit plan. But let's move on to the next story, which is one of the main vulnerabilities Theresa May is seeing play out in front of her in terms of the Conservative Party landscape, which is Jacob Rees-Mogg, very prominent, in fact, Brexit campaigner, Conservative backbencher, leader of the European Research Group, a very influential pro-Brexit or Eurosceptic research group of Conservative MPs, has submitted his vote of no confidence, or submitted his no confidence letter to the 1922 committee chairman, Graham Brady, basically saying that Theresa May is not the right person to continue leading the party. Now, why is this significant? Because he is the pinpoint of a larger group of MPs, Conservative MPs, who are not happy with the draft withdrawal agreement, particularly those who are in Brexit-supporting constituencies or indeed themselves supported Brexit. So what will he do in terms of influencing other MPs to submitting letters is very, very important. Now, this was after he did a challenge in the Commons to Theresa May, directly to her, saying that what she said and what she did about Brexit no longer matched, and indeed going on to talk about the PM's draft deal in a statement he made when he said he had submitted his letter of no confidence, said the PM's draft deal is not Brexit, this is a failure of government policy. An opportunity is being thrown away, and this is nothing to do with personal ambition. Now, let's talk about that personal ambition. Some obviously will see this as perhaps a leadership bid in disguise, but he also went on to list potential successors to Theresa May, some being Boris Johnson, David Davis, Dominic Raab, Esther McVey and Penny Mordaunt. Only one of them obviously still in cabinet, but all of them Brexit supporting former ministers and cabinet ministers as well. Now, in terms of the logistics of this no confidence, now reports are from this morning is that the number of letters needed, which is of course 48, to be submitted to 1922 committee for a vote of no confidence to be enacted, is very, very close. Now, we don't know whether that's actually passed. There have been some reports that the government whips have been in and out of Downing Street and have been told to cancel their arrangements, which indicates that perhaps something has happened, perhaps a vote of no confidence is imminent, but that is not confirmed yet, so don't take that as absolute. In terms of if a vote of no confidence does go ahead, just remember that you do need, Theresa May would need the backing of 158 Conservative MPs to see off the Brexiters' challenge and be safe for another year in Downing Street. Again, this is something that will really be playing out today, so keep an eye on your news feeds to see what the developments are in there, whether the 48 figure has been reached and whether Theresa May is facing a no confidence motion. Let's look, though, at what's going on in Brexit, particularly the Department of Exiting the European Union. Dominic Raab left his position as Brexit Secretary yesterday. No one yet has been announced as his replacement. Now, there was speculation and indeed reports that Michael Gove had been approached by the Prime Minister to take on the position as one of the actually very prominent Vote Leave campaigners, but also been particularly quiet over recent days, and obviously one of the few Vote Leave backing cabinet members still around. Obviously him and Chris Grayling, Andrea Leadsom as well as a couple of others, Penny Mordaunt as well. He's now apparently rejected the offer of being Brexit Secretary to the Prime Minister because he would not, Theresa May would not allow him to go back and renegotiate the Brexit deal. In fact, obviously EU leaders and Theresa May have said that it's not going to be possible, but that was one of the conditions he put forward reportedly when he was offered the job. That's now not happening. The speculation was then, well, if he's not going to go along with the Brexit deal, he doesn't agree with it, he thinks it should be renegotiated, he doesn't want to step up to be Brexit Secretary, how can he be in Cabinet? Because being in Cabinet means you have to have collective government responsibility, ministerial responsibility, you have to support the Brexit plan. So that was speculation of Michael Gove could be another Cabinet Minister leaving and resigning Cabinet. Reports are now, though, that he's ruled out resigning and he's going to stay in Cabinet to work for the best Brexit outcome. Very important in terms of the dynamics and the vulnerability of Theresa May. Michael Gove saying he's going to stay in Cabinet and therefore de facto stay in government under Theresa May, under the current Brexit plan. Obviously, his loss would have been a huge moment in terms of the movement against Theresa May as leader. He's now staying in. He's not Brexit Secretary, rejected that position. The question still remains now, obviously, is who is going to be Brexit Secretary? It's a Cabinet position, key to the next few months and still unfilled. That will obviously be something no doubt being announced in the next few hours as well. So that's pretty much it for today, for this morning, I should say. You're up to date. Don't forget you can find all the latest on what we're doing here on Core Politics and on our Facebook page right here. If I missed something out or you want to chat about one of the stories that I've covered, comment box is below. And obviously my Twitter is @RJHW, so drop me a tweet or see what I'm talking about today as well. This is developing minute by minute, hour by hour, so very much keep a look on your news feeds if you want to know the latest of what's going on. But apart from that, I'll see you again on Monday morning for another Headline Focus.